I'm Mary Rowe. You're going to have to, listen, whoever's up here talking, you're going to have to be fascinating to compete with this view. Hey, isn't it spectacular? What a great place to have this, and I'm so appreciative that we found this venue and that we are doing it here, because you are embedded in West Midtown, which has got to be one of the fastest changing, most pivotally important parts of New York City now. And what a great thing that we can be in it and be immersed in it and talking about it. So as I said, I'm Mary Rowe, and I work at MAS, and MAS has been very pleased to put this program together with an illustrious group of partners who are in the room. So I want to just, first of all, thank them. And actually, you can see their names. You can see their names here. There's a sponsor list. But particularly, we've been very appreciative to work with the Columbia Business School, and specifically with the Paul Milstein Center for Real Estate, who have been our great thought partners in this project, and who have a long interest, not quite as long as MAS, because as you know, we're 122 years old. A long interest in what the relationship is between people and place. And that's really what MAS is about as well, and why we're happy to have the real estate industry here with us, because you are as invested in place as we are. We're kind of the people side, you're kind of the place side, and together we make a great city. And this topic that we're going to focus on today around creative placemaking is been part of the sort of DNA of MAS for decades. And I think it's wonderful for us to remind each other that this is no single sector's responsibility. It is all of our responsibilities to create dynamic places, and the focus for today is particularly on the corporate role and the unique energy and dynamism and perspective and resources that the corporate community brings to placemaking, and why that's so important to an organization like ours, a civil society advocate, that's always trying to connect the corporate with the civil, with community, with government, and with all the different interests that make a city hum along. I want to welcome our online audience. We are live streaming this, which is tremendous, so people who aren't able to be with us. And we know the risk of live streaming, it's sort of a liability and an asset, is that as soon as you announce the live stream link, which we did last night, a certain number of people say, okay, then I'm going to watch from the comfort of my home or my desk. And we've stopped fighting that, because we appreciate that really it's about the proliferation of ideas. And so wherever you are, if you chose to stay home instead of being in this miraculous venue, we hope you're making a nice cup of tea, and we hope you'll tweet. And if you have questions, you can tweet them, and then somehow they'll magically come to the moderator, and we'll have an engaged conversation with those of us in the room and those coming in online. If you look at the agenda, you'll see that we have a mix of panels and then a few short talks. Many of you may have been with us at the MAS Summit for New York City a couple of weeks ago at the Times Center, and we've kind of got this format down now. We appreciate that people have different learning styles. Some people learn by listening to more than one person. Some people learn by just hearing a single person speak. And so we always try to make sure that we have a blend of those things. And similarly, because we are the Municipal Art Society, and because we were created at a time when people recognized that building a city was as much art as it was science, we always want to make sure that we have art physically represented in our events and in our programming. And so later today, we are so fortunate to have a performance of Dancers Among Us, which I'm told is literally true, Dancers Among Us, and that will be at the close of the day before we go upstairs for a drink. And also upstairs where you have your lunch, you'll see there were photographs done by Jordan Matter, photographer, of Dancers Among Us, I guess of one dancer. So you got a bit of a preview in those images, and then we'll have the chance to actually experience them later in the afternoon. There are other people to thank, but I think I might wait till they get here so that I can thank them. So I'll just thank you all the time, just fine. What I want to do now is introduce to you one of our directors. We have a number of MAS board members here, which we're appreciative of their leadership and their commitment to the MAS mission. And one of them is named Elizabeth Belfer, and she is an equity analyst with Belfer Management. What you need to know about Elizabeth, which you'll pick up in a second when she comes on the stage, is that she is a passionate advocate for place and has been involved in many, many of the different initiatives, particularly here on the West Side, as we see this extraordinary change taking place. And she's going to come and speak to you about what her esteemed role in presenting one of the MAS awards. But what I will say is that she is leading our campaign for a new Penn Station. And the reason that we were so happy to come to Midtown West, and the reason that we're so appreciative of Related and Brookfield taking us on that tour this morning. How many of you were able to schlep through that tour? It was great, wasn't it? Like to get a bird's eye view of what's really going on. And the reason that we were keen to do it here is because of this extraordinary corporate activity that is creating a city within a city, with government support, obviously, and civic support. And our piece of that equation is to continue to tirelessly advocate for a new Penn Station and a revitalized West Midtown. So would you welcome, please, MAS Board Director Elizabeth Belfer.
No, I didn't wear these shoes in the rain. I did a little wardrobe change in the elevator, so thanks for that assistance, Mary. And thank you for that generous introduction. I could hardly say that I alone am leading the Penn Station campaign, but me among many, many others, both within MAS and without. But we as at MAS as a whole are certainly among those leading the charge on that, and we're thrilled to have you all here and more of you engaged in that effort. I have been involved from the Highline Project from an early stage, which has been a real thrill. And the more I go up there and see, people from all over the world and all across the country come and enjoy it, and see what that project has done for revitalizing and redeveloping Chelsea and into West Midtown Manhattan has been just tremendously exciting. So with that, I am again very honored to be here to open Global Cities at the Crossroads, Commerce, Art, and the Captivating Power of Place, and to present the 2015 MAS Livable City Award. There is no better way to open a symposium like this than to honor a company whose projects have become synonymous with the kind of imaginative, creative placemaking we're all here to talk about. Through the Livable City Award, MAS honors the extraordinary organizations that make New York the vibrant, creative world capital that it is. It is our belief that the work highlighted by the Livable City Award makes New York a more interesting, dynamic, and desirable place to live. A leader in creative placemaking, Brookfield Properties brings art into the lives of millions around the world who walk through their public spaces and work in their office buildings every day. It's easy for us to associate Brookfield so closely with its work here in Manhattan, though this isn't an international corporation. From Perth to Toronto, Brookfield and Arts Brookfield are injecting art, culture, and innovation into urban life everywhere. Here in New York, we've witnessed the impact of this company's investment firsthand. In the days after September 11th, New Yorkers were united in hope that we would see a new, brighter chapter for Lower Manhattan. But while our hope may have been shared, only a talented few had the vision and determination necessary to make that dream possible. Brookfield invested heavily in Lower Manhattan, and not just in dollars. Brookfield's commitment to the revitalization of downtown and the holistic view they had of the way their properties connected with the broader neighborhoods around them was enormously influential in reanimating downtown and attracting other investment in the area. At MAS, one of our core missions is to advance, quote, complete neighborhoods, the belief that in order to thrive, communities need a broad range of amenities and tenants. Brookfield has put this belief into action. By reimagining the World Financial Center as Brookfield Place, they have created a building where photographers from Time Inc. work side by side with executives from American Express, where office workers can linger during lunchtime on park benches surrounded by lovely landscaping, and where neighbors congregate on weekends for free art installations and family programming. Where once Lower Manhattan was an economic monoculture deserted after rush hour, we now see a thriving, complete neighborhood. Brookfield was central to ushering in this new era. Standing on West Street in 2002, who among us could have imagined that a little more than a decade later, it would be the site of one of Manhattan's most innovative civic commons? From palm trees that thrive even in the depth of winter to art that feeds the hungry, Brookfield and the Arts Brookfield programs have rewritten the book on what it means to be an office tower in New York City and around the world. Brookfield bet on Lower Manhattan at a time when the easy thing to do was to walk away. And 3 years ago, when downtown was quite literally underwater in the aftermath of Superstorm Sandy, Brookfield doubled down on that commitment, pumping millions of gallons of seawater out of One New York Plaza and pumping millions of renovation dollars back in. Now they are betting on West Midtown, another area of our city overdue for an inspired reinvention. MAS has advocated for a revitalized West Midtown neighborhood for decades, and most of you know us from our core campaign advocating for a new Penn Station. It's no surprise that we greeted Brookfield's involvement here with fanfare. We have seen this company act as a pioneer before, and we know only good things can come to West Midtown with their investment here. So now I am very honored to introduce Dennis Friedrich to accept the 2015 MAS Livable City Award on behalf of Brookfield. Dennis was appointed Chief Executive Officer of the Global Office Division of Brookfield Properties in July 2012, but he has served the company in a leadership role for several years. He was instrumental in the growth of Brookfield's portfolio as it became the largest property owner in Lower Manhattan and attracted an array of new tenants across many industries to set up shop downtown. Please give a warm welcome to Dennis Friedrich from Brookfield Properties. Thank you.
Wow, that was an incredible introduction. Thank you, Elizabeth. I don't really have much more to add to that overall, but I'll try. I'm going to need to get you in touch with our investors at times. It'll be nice. Listen, I would like to thank MAS for this incredible honor. The Municipal Art Society has obviously been a long-term leader in New York that has inspired, educated, and empowered New Yorkers to engage in the community, in the betterment of our city, and has engaged with, importantly, corporate sponsors and partners along that way. And I'm not going to talk too much about Brookfield as a corporation, but direct more of my comments to really our incredible Arts Brookfield program, who is very linked in with our corporate strategy and is really an important part of our decision making, particularly as we increasingly create what we call special places. We've branded them Brookfield Places for commercial reasons from that standpoint, but it's starting to really grab hold around the globe in different places, and whether it's Perth, whether it is here in New York, or whether it's in Toronto, and there is an increasing expectation from the community and from our tenant base, which at the end of the day is very important, of what to expect from a Brookfield Place. And a big part of that is the animation of our public areas, public spaces in a very different way, and also delivery of very, very high-end and really creative, cutting-edge art and cultural programs. We remain deeply committed to the enrichment of New York City. Elizabeth was nice enough to talk a little bit about what we were able to ultimately accomplish. It continues to be a work in progress down at Brookfield Place in Lower Manhattan. Our focus has been up here for a period of time, but is really moving 110% up to the Midtown West corridor and here in the Hudson Yards area. So onto our program, which again is really getting more and more out in the forefront as we expand globally. I'd like to personally acknowledge Deborah Simon. Deborah, please raise your hand. Great. Deborah is artistic director. I think obviously the room knows her well, of Arts Brookfield. She's the leading visionary of the program here in New York and throughout the U.S. operating cities, and increasingly in new markets that we enter, like London, and we're trying to close out an interesting transaction in Berlin. And Deborah calls me pretty much every other hour as to when she's flying over to start programming Berlin, which I think is a great arts community, and I'm looking forward to bringing some of those ideas back to other places. She spearheads thousands of performances and exhibitions, which attract hundreds of thousands of onlookers and participants. Deborah's collaboration with iconic New York organizations such as MAS, Lincoln Center, the New Museum, Creative Time, and WNYC Radio have continued to elevate the content of our programs in our public spaces. She's also done some important collaborations with a diversity of artists, such as Bill T. Jones, Third Rail Projects, Elizabeth Streb. Elizabeth, I was able to meet you earlier. My assistant does not express a lot of enthusiasm for what I do on a day-to-day basis, but when she heard you were here, it was a different kind of day. So you might have to pay us a visit. You're down often, and say hello to Ann, my assistant. She asked me to make that request. So as I mentioned, for us, creating space for art and expression of art and artists themselves is really an important aspect for us of our corporate citizenship, which we take seriously. It is a prudent business decision for us because we are really trying to create urban, unique environments throughout all the major cities. We look forward to welcoming an all-new venue for Arts Brookfield immediately north of where we stand. We're going to be creating a little over 2 acre public space through the middle of the complex with linkage to the rest of the overall district. And Deborah is working on ideas for that already, although we expect that to roll out around 2019. So again, on behalf of my colleagues at Brookfield, I'd really like to thank everyone at MAS for this great honor. We're humbled to be along with a number of very, very high-level honorees, and we look forward to continuing to dedicate our efforts, our investments, our corporate citizenship to creating these spaces and the platforms needed for artists around the world. So thank you very much for this award again, and look forward to the rest of the program. Thank you.
Actually, why don't you come up here? Come up here. Yeah, come up here. Photo ops, very important, photo ops.